my second to last guy, Taylor, I think you're not going to like this one a ton, but LSU's Will Campbell. Now, we keep mentioning Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft that he posted this morning for NFL Network. He did have Will Campbell at the 4th pick to the Patriots. No trade down, sit and pick Will Campbell, number 4. Now, this is a guy who 6'6", 323, consensus All-American in 2024. He allowed only 4 sacks over 3 seasons, 3-time first-team All-SEC, and he's 21 years old. He has exceptional body control for somebody who's 6'6". He's smart. He's a technician. He's able to navigate and read the blocks in front of him. He's a guy who just, again, a lot of the guys and a lot of the first rounders have high football IQ, but Will Campbell is someone who just gets it on the field. He's also someone who just gets it off the field. He is a leader. He is someone, I think you had tweeted out a video of him at some point. I think it was before LSU's bowl game or something, where he had a quote where it was just like, this guy's only 21, but he knows what.
Yeah, very mature. Yeah,
he gets it. He's mature, and he'll come in at a captain level, probably as a rookie. Now, the concern is the concern, and it's the arm length. And he's expected to come in short on the arms at the combine next week. And that bodes the question, is he a guard or is he a tackle at the next level? And I don't like him as a guard for the Patriots. We've talked about it ad nauseum over the last couple of days. There is a logjam at guard. Don't bring in another guard. If you're confident with him at tackle, take him as a tackle. Now, the height at 6'6" can also be a weakness too. I read this on a couple scouting reports where since he's so big and tall, guys kind of get under him and guys can kind of get around him quickly, and he can kind of lose when, they get low and they bend the edge like that. So at the end of the day, if the arm length checks out, I'm good with taking Campbell at 4. If it doesn't, you pass. Now, if it does check out and you can pair him, like I said, with Banks as the left tackle of the future for Drake May for quite some time, I don't understand how you can't love a guy like Will Campbell. Again, if the arms are there. Now, if not, too many guards, too many fish to fry, pass. So it's a kind of an unknown right now, but basing it off the arm length, take Will Campbell at 4, and I'm okay with it.
So Will Campbell has been Daniel Jeremiah's pick in both of his mocks.
Okay.
And I think it's wise to use Daniel Jeremiah's mocks as a guide for wherever you are in draft season, because he does the mock drafts based on what he's hearing. Bingo. So what we're all missing in these mocks is actual inside information. We can all watch the tape. We can have our opinions on the players, but that doesn't really matter as much at the end of the day when there's medicals, when there's off-field things and all that. And also, Daniel Jeremiah is plugged in and has understanding of the league and how teams are feeling about their needs and things like that. It could be the Patriots telling him that they really need to address their offensive line. It could be other teams giving him the opinion that they need to. My issue is anytime I've seen Will Campbell mocked to the Patriots, it's not because he's the best player available. It's not because he's the best scheme fit. It's because their O-line sucks. That, I think, is a horrible logic to use for the 4th overall pick, right? I've already mentioned it. If you're talking about precedent for guards, no guard has gone top 5 in the past 25 years. I didn't go all the way back 25 years, but I think we're back 15 or 20. It's not a thing that happens.
Quentin Nelson, I think you meant
Nelson was 6th
pick. Yeah, and that's it.
And I understand it's splitting hairs and all these things, but no, we also need to look at the team perspective. So one, drafting a guard 4th overall would be a huge outlier. On top of it, this is a team with multiple players who could play guard, even Caden Wallace. You need a left tackle. And if Will Campbell, I think his ceiling as a tackle is he will be very good. I think to be great in the NFL, you need some level of physical traits where you are exceptional, like Julian Edelman. He was never, I think, a great wide receiver when you look at league-wide, right? Like you can say great in terms of the history of the game for sure because of the Super Bowls and the playoff success. But he was never a great wide receiver league-wide because he didn't have the tools to dominate any person that lined up against him. When you're talking about a left tackle, we mentioned it, where left tackles get drafted and they never leave. It's because where they get drafted, if they have a certain flaw, usually something else will really make up for it. And if you're talking about guys with short arms, one, they are never 33 inches. Like the guys, the top 10 highest paid offensive tackles right now, their arm length, the shortest ones are like Jake Matthews and not Taylor Lewan. Who is it? There's another one. I can't remember his name right now. I'm sorry. But the people with the shortest arms in the
Lawan
NFL
has short arms, and he played for Vrabel.
But Lawan didn't have 33-inch arms. He had like 33 and 7/8 inches.
Okay.
Like, we're talking, if you're sub 33 and a half, you are still a huge outlier. Like, Rashawn Slater is the only comparison to Will Campbell. If you want to spend the 4th overall pick hoping that Will Campbell becomes a guy that was picked with the 17th pick, I'm sorry. We just fundamentally disagree. I think Will Campbell's a really good player. I think he's a great kid. I've tried to wrap my brain around the situation where you get him and it makes sense. I'm sorry. Maybe in a trade down, I could swallow it if he becomes an all-pro guard after like a season or two at tackle. But I just cannot get on board with drafting a guy who will be a very good tackle if you could trade back into the first round for Ariante Ursary, or if there's any other guys like a Carson Vincent I really like. I think he's going to get drafted later, but really just because he came from a small school. So if he gets good coaching, maybe, he maximizes his potential. Ozzie Trapillo looked good at left tackle during the Senior Bowl. I'm a huge Anthony Belton guy. Mm-hmm. The team has to like these evaluations, but I'm telling you, when they're looking at offensive tackles, if they're being honest, I don't think that Will Campbell is at the top of their board. Offensive lineman, for sure. I don't think he's the top offensive tackle. So for me, don't reach. 4 is such a valuable pick. Hopefully you're not even sniffing number 4 again. I would much rather fill out the rest of the roster and get a guy you think could maybe be a solid tackle than get a great guard, very good tackle, and not have maybe 2 additional picks inside the top 100, top 120.
All right. It's fine. It's fair. It's a good argument. I get it. And it's more so that's kind of the thing where I hesitate because I don't know where his arms are going to come out. But with the questions, it's clear that he's not going to come out with 35-inch arms, right? Like, he's not going to be this superhuman freak. It's clearly going to be right on the line, which is where the questions, ultimately come into play. And the fact that he may not actually be a guard or a tackle, rather, for the entirety of his career.
And I think people think the number 33 and a half is just some random number that like I'm fixating on or that people are fixating on. There are thresholds for a reason, because when you get away from them too often, you end up getting away from certain standards you have for your players, right? So for a left tackle, you really want somebody who can shut down encounters early on. Like we talked about it. It's like a boxer. If you have long arms, you're at a huge advantage because a guy can't even touch you. When you're going up against Aiden Hutchinson, Myles Garrett, and all these really long, freakish athletes who can do any pass rush move in the book and keep you on your heels because you never know what to expect. Against those guys, every quarter of an inch matters. So if you have 33.5-inch arms versus 33, that's half a foot that you, or I'm sorry, half an inch that you have where you could have shut down an encounter sooner, and it makes it that much easier for them to put you in a compromising position. The reason I don't like Will Campbell's arm length is because he has to consistently let pass rushers close to his body. Now, usually he's very good. He knows he's got a good anchor. He's not really worried about them getting into his chest. He's also very good at getting guys around the arc. You like run the entire hoop and get around the quarterback. Right. But if you don't know for sure whether a guy's going left or right or inside or outside, right, and you don't have the arm length to shut down the encounter before it even really matters, then your chances of success have shot way down. Because in those obvious pass situations, if you don't have the mental advantage, right, like if you don't have the physical tools, you need to have effort and you need to be smarter. If that guy's trying just as hard, if he's just as fast, but he's a better athlete, what's going to happen?
Right. He's gone.
That's why the arm length does matter. It's a game of inches, literally. Mm-hmm. If you have half an inch less arm length than the guy across from you, that is a huge disadvantage, and you will very rarely see edge rushers at the top of their game who have arms that are less than 34 inches.
Right. And that's where you saw it in, we talked about it yesterday, but we'll mention again while we're on the subject. You saw it in the Super Bowl and through the playoffs and through the end of the season, where Joe Thuney moves from guard to tackle. He's serviceable. He makes it happen. He allows them to get to the Super Bowl, but then he gets to the big game and he has to play a bunch of beasts across the line in front of him in that Philly front seven, and he kind of got his lunch delivered to him, and he wasn't great in the game, and it's because his arms are shorter than the rest of the bunch, and it does, like you said, it puts you at a disadvantage. So we'll see what happens.